available.
I don't know if I have enough for now.
You.
So there's two components of what we call wastewater with the town of Seneca Falls. There's the existing wastewater treatment plant. That plant was originally designed and is permitted by the DEC to handle up to 3.5 million gallons per day. In order to get the wastewater there, there's a pretty extensive network of sanitary sewer, gravity sewers, force mains, pump stations. Within the town limits, there's currently about 50 miles of sewer. There's 15 pump stations. That services roughly a little over 3,000 residential users, 264 commercial users, and 2 industrial users. Focus of this really isn't about the wastewater treatment plant, but I want to kind of explain some of the issues that we're seeing related to the plant and how they relate to one of the projects. So indicated it's permitted for about 3.5 million gallons per day. Currently though, the plant sees on average about 1.6 million gallons per day. With that, what happens down at the plant is subject, after rainfall, it's subject to some significant inflows, what we call a peak hourly flow. They can increase up to 6 to 10 million gallons per day. The reason behind that is there's stormwater getting into the sanitary system. And that's one of the projects I want to talk about. So with that, when we look at the numbers, in 2013 being out of the study regarding infiltration within there, and on average about 15% of the flow going into the current wastewater treatment plant is really directly related to precipitation. On a peak flow, that can get up to upwards of 40% of the permanent flows are entirely tied to stormwater infiltration. Real quick, this is just an overview of the treatment plant. Down on the canal by the lock, what I do want to point out on this, over here, this is the equalization tank. That basically, when we talk about infiltration and peak flows after a rainfall event, that equalization tank will handle most of the incoming flow. It's a 3 million gallon tank and it's currently not in good shape. So what happens is that tank is used really on an emergency basis. The DEC has had questions regarding, there are issues with the tank as far as what kind of shape it's in. And the goal here is as we reduce some of the peak flows, we can look to upgrading that tank to hopefully a smaller size. So quickly, as John indicated, we've got several projects that we're currently working on. The first one is the Route 414 upgrade project. There's currently a sanitary sewer that runs between the petrol station that's in the town of Tyre that was installed in 2005 that runs down along Route 414. As part of the Lago development, the town has entered an agreement to accept the wastewater flows to the treatment plant from the casino. With that, there's going to be some upgrades required in order to increase the conveyance along that corridor. Those upgrades will actually provide additional excess capacity, allowing for additional development along that stretch.
Yeah, Peter, I think it's important to note too that the casino is actually paying for those upgrades on that sort of thing.
I just wrote that question down there.
Okay.
Yeah, that project is going to be funded by the casino. The next one in line is, and I'm going to talk about each of these in a little more detail. Just as a side note, I did bring across there some drawings That particular drawing you're looking at is just really an overview of the overall, all the projects we're working on. Behind those, there's a more detailed plan view. So if anyone wants to take a look after the meeting, I can certainly talk to you and point those out. Given the scale of some of these projects, it's kind of hard to convey how they, on a screen, the scale of what they are, because we're talking about several miles of pipe. So to look at it on a screen doesn't really do it justice as far as the trying to get into details out of it. The next one we're working on is the Kingdom Road Pump Station. Along the corner of, it's really the old Kingdom Road Bridge, the corner of Bowsley Road and 5 and 20, the town operates a pump station. That pump station currently receives a lot of sanitary flow from along Route 414 and then sections of 5 and 20 in between to the town line of Waterloo. That station was originally sized for some pretty low flows, and given the development we're talking about, that station is going to need additional upgrades. And the final project we talked about is the sanitary sewer, the infiltration inflow improvements. In 2013, being able to do a pretty extensive study of manhole inspections, sewer inspections, camera lines, smoke testing, looked at responses of precipitation to pump rates. So we have a pretty good handle on where the issues are. We've made some recommendations, and that's basically that project will really address the infiltration we're seeing into the wastewater treatment plant. Those are 3 projects within the town of Seneca Falls. 2 other projects that we've already touched upon are regional projects. Really the goal is that these regional projects will bring increased flow into the treatment plant. Essentially, it's increased revenue. There are a couple of smaller treatment plants under 318 that the DEC would like to have those flows go elsewhere. And the town of Seneca Falls is a pretty robust treatment plant, currently underutilized in that it's under capacity, but can handle a lot more flow. So we mentioned the casino, and we also talked about the 318 corridor. And I'll talk a little bit more about the 318 corridor project we're doing for Seneca County. This is a map of everything we're doing, and the red is not as bad as it looks. I apologize for that, but basically this is the old village of Seneca Falls, or the current town. Within there, we've identified a lot of just kind of smaller projects in order to address some of the stormwater effects that the treatment plant's seeing. Jump back here, here's the 318 corridor. That's a project that we're currently working on in Seneca County. There's the casino. Along here, this is the stretch of Route 414 where we're looking to upgrade the sanitary sewer system and then tying it to Bowsley Road. And then when we talk about Kingdom Road, the Kingdom Road pump station is right here, and we're looking at actually installing a new force main across the canal along River Road that will tie into the existing sewer system on the south side of the canal. The treatment plant, for anyone that doesn't know, is on the south side of the canal. I'll show it to you in a better map. Quick overview of the 414 sanitary sewer project. The way it's currently structured is Lago has agreed to evaluate a couple alternatives. Just the base project, and what the base project will bring is the ability to handle the flows from the casino. There's also within that base project going to be quite a bit of excess capacity, so that will even in and of itself will allow for additional development absent of any additional upgrades. That is going to include the upgrade of the Route 414 pump station. I got pictures of each of the pump stations. When you say pump station, it sounds pretty impressive. When you see the pictures, it's kind of underwhelming way you look at, but they're pretty critical pieces of infrastructure, and I don't want to de-emphasize them. So the base project will include installation of about 10,000 feet of a 10-inch force main. Pump station, the way wastewater works, and I can just back up a little bit, is generally we use gravity sewer to the extent we can. If you have to pump uphill, you install a pump station, and then that water will flow through what we call a force main. It's flow under pressure. So the pump stations are pretty critical in order to be able to expand the breadth of the system. So we have about 10,000 feet of 10-inch force main that will be installed down along Route 414, and it's going to cross over down Ballsy Road, and it's going to tie into an existing sanitary manhole at the corner of 5 and 20 Ballsy Road. So that would start at there's the pieces of pipe would start at the Seneca Meadows pump station, and that would run down Ballsy Road. Along with their project, as part of the agreement with Lago, they've committed to purchasing a new pump station at the Kingdom Road location. The actual infrastructure, the piping, the new well would be addressed under that project. And Lago's also agreed to contemplate an additive bid item. Really what the additive bid is would be an installation of an additional 5,000 feet of pipe. That would be between the 414 pump station down to the Seneca Meadows pump station. What that will provide is a lot of additional capacity, really making the way for substantial more development along Route 318 and that stretch of 414. So I talked about the pump stations. This is the Route 414 pump station. There's not much to it. The new pump station is going to be a little bit bigger. Really, looking at a new prepackaged design that allows personnel to come in. That pump station will be equipped with dual pumps and a backup generator. This pump station is located on Route 414, right immediately south of the bridge that was installed with the Blackbrook relocation that was performed a few years ago. This pump station currently receives flow from the petrol station. That flows via gravity sewer into this pump station. And that discharges into an 8-inch force main. We're looking at upsizing that into a 10-inch force main. The next one down the line is the Seneca Meadows pump station. That's where the base bid to start the work would be. The Seneca Meadows pump station currently receives flows from the Route 414 station in addition to the pre-treated leachate that Seneca Meadows discharges. That leachate and wastewater discharge into a 6-inch dual contained pipe, which that is kind of a bottleneck within the current system as far as allowing additional flow. So the current plan would really be to bypass that pump station entirely. And the Kingdom Road pump station, this is located at 5 and 20, on the south side of 5 and 20. This is a fairly old one, I believe installed in the mid-70s, maybe early 80s. It's a pretty small parcel of land this sits on. This is actually the control building. The pump station sits here. This pump station includes 2 submersible pumps, and I believe there's no current backup power provided to that. In the last few years, the way the wastewater pumping industry has gone is, in the 70s, the submersible pumps were the way to go. If the pump goes, if there's any issues with it, that pump has to be pulled by maintenance personnel. The current configuration of the pumps includes pumps that essentially sit on ground, and they suck the water into the pump intake. So from a maintenance standpoint, they're much easier to maintain, much cleaner operation, much safer operation. There's really no need to enter the manhole or confined space entry. So this is a quick overview of the Route 414 upgrades. As most of you know, Route 414 runs north-south, not east-west. So this one, in order to fit onto the scale, it's rotated. So north is this way. Here's north. The purple line here, if you can see it, and the red lines represent the existing infrastructure. This is the Route 414 pump station. This piece right here represents the additive bed that we've talked about. The base bed is shown in red here. That's the existing Seneca Meadows pump station. The work would entail, at that point, to let the 8-inch flow disconnected from the Seneca Meadows pump station, connected into the new 10-inch pipe. That 10-inch pipe would run down 414, cross over to Ballsy Road, and tie into an existing manhole here. Next in line is the Kingdom Road Pump Station, the force main upgrade. We talked real quick about what the Kingdom Road Pump Station is. That, with the new development that's being proposed, the Kingdom Road Pump Station is going to be fairly well undersized. So the plan on that is to upgrade the pump station. With that, there'll be a new wet well. And what we looked at here is currently the Kingdom Road Pump Station discharges into an 8-inch force main that runs down Fall Street. It's aged, it's not in great repair, so we looked at installing a new pipe. Down Fall Street, infrastructure, there's sanitary sewer, there's force mains, water, gas. It's a pretty busy stretch, and the further you go east into the village, installation of a pipe on a busy road like that becomes pretty difficult. So what we looked at is making a crossing below the canal, and then running that force main down River Road and then down into Bayard Street. It would tie into the existing treatment plant right around the Owen Street Bridge. So what would happen there is the existing force main would be out of service. And the other side benefit of that is because some of the aged infrastructure within the village at the Owen Street Bridge, periodically that is subject to overflows. By doing this, that's going to eliminate a lot of flow hitting that point, and it'll divert it to a section of sewer that's better capable of handling that flow. This would be a 14-inch pipe as opposed to a 10-inch pipe. So here's a map of Kingdom Road, and I just want to touch on one of the options we have. Kingdom Road Pump Station is down here, corner of Balsley Road and Route 5 and 20. It's right next to the old Dunkin' Donuts that's currently a vacant parcel. So our proposal would be to cross underneath the canal via a horizontal drill. So we wouldn't dig into the canal, we would essentially bore underneath the canal and then run a new force main down River Road. At this location right here, we're looking at a couple options. The current plan concept would be to maintain running down River Road and tying in the existing infrastructure. We are in discussion with the owners of the current sculpture trail about the ability to gain an easement to access this parcel. Running down here provides a substantial cost savings just because it's an old rail bed, so the installation of that sewer becomes a lot easier, not as much infrastructure to deal with. This section has similar issues to the village of Seneca Falls existing infrastructure. It's not as crowded, it's not as busy, so it certainly can be done. And we're looking at, we are currently exploring our ability to use that as an alternate pathway. And finally, talk about the infiltration inflow improvements. Real quick, there's a lot of individual components that go into this. I mentioned in 2013, B&L did a pretty extensive study looking at what the effects of rainfall are in the system. I tried to identify where the leaks were, so to speak, and really what this entails is upgrades of the existing stormwater connections within the town, and also upgrades of sanitary sewer leaks. So there are some storm water culverts and connections that were identified in that study. They will be part of the proposal is to eliminate those and reroute those stormwater conduits so they're not feeding into the wastewater treatment system or the sanitary sewer flows. And given the age of the old village or the town's infrastructure, there are a lot of old manholes, leaking pipes. So we've submitted a report to the DEC and the funding agencies seeking funds for that work. Although that would fund a portion of the work and not all of the work. This is a pretty detailed map showing all the individual components. I have this map over there if you want to take a look at it. This is a pretty complicated project, and there's just a lot of individual components. I think in the order of 100 or so manholes that require some basically TLC as far as going in, sealing them up, A lot of the sewer laterals, either sealing them up with what we call a cured in place piping, or simply just removing and replacing with a more intact pipe. So those are the three Town of Seneca Falls projects we're working on. And the other one we're working on with Seneca County is the Route 318 corridor. What that involves is the primary driver behind that, and this is an area that the county and the town of Tyre have been looking at since probably 2000. The primary driver behind that is the water outlet mall and ensuring that that outlet mall stays in service. The outlet mall, I believe, is a pretty substantial tax revenue for the county. And it's currently served by a small treatment plant that's operated by the town of Junius. It was installed solely for the outlet mall. They're the only customer for that treatment plant. The treatment plant's over 20 years old right now. It's approaching really the effective age of this type of infrastructure. So the focus there is what's a better way to really send this wastewater to a more effective treatment system. The town of Seneca Falls is a well-run facility. It's a much larger facility, and it's more cost-effective to treat the wastewater at a larger facility. The side benefit of that is by installing sanitary sewer, that's going to allow a lot of economic development within that corridor. County officials have indicated they've had inquiries over the years with really no ability for any kind of large-scale commercial development along that corridor without sanitary sewer service. So this is just an overview of it. This particular project involves about 5 miles of pipe. If you're familiar with